Did you watch the Tom Hanks movie?
I watched 45 minutes of the Tom Hanks movie in Somalia.
In Somalia while you were captive?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Well, I knew Captain Phillips was going to be a movie when I left. That was already clear. Right?
Wow.
Spielberg had already announced it or something like that.
So they had announced it when you left, and you got to watch it
when I
in
was there.
Somalia.
Yeah, because by the time, this was towards the end of my captivity, I had a shortwave radio, so I was listening to the radio. By the time it came out and went to the Oscars, it was all over the BBC, so I knew about it. I knew it was out. I'm like, okay, so I'm missing Captain Phillips, whatever. Wonder what that's like. And then one day, all the guards got new smartphones, pretty fancy smartphones, and they were apparently loaded with a new collection of films and music and whatever to keep them occupied. One afternoon, I saw two guards just completely wrapped by some sort of film on the phone. And I heard some American voices. I'm like, I wonder what this film is. And finally I said, fuck me, that's Tom Hanks. So I knew what they were watching. And 2 weeks later, one of the guards actually handed me the phone and said, Michael, look. And so I saw about 45 minutes of it.
Wow.
And of course, when he handed me the phone, the first thing that went through my mind is like, okay, I'm going to call Mom. I'm like, just find a way to turn down the volume and call California. He took the phone away before I did that. But I had a whole plan. I developed a whole plan while I was watching Captain Phillips, get on the plane in Boston Logan or whatever.
Wow.
It was, so atmospherically, it was a pretty well done movie, but there were a couple of scenes where that just wouldn't have happened in real life.
I didn't watch the movie.
Yeah.
So what was inaccurate about it?
There was one scene where there was some selection of pirates on the beach, so in public. And I thought, gosh, how did they get that? I've never even heard of that before. And then I thought about it and realized, whoa, actually wouldn't happen like that in public. That was just for dramatic purposes. I was envious of their material at first, and then I realized, no, they made that up. So things like that. But the pirates were fascinated to see people like them, and in some cases their friends, portrayed on screen. And even though we all know how the movie ends very badly for Somali pirates.
So they knew about the story that was based on.
Yeah, no question. Not only that, but one of them said that he was friends with one of the pirates involved. And I believe him, actually. He had the right clan affiliation for that, so it's quite possible.
What was it like to see them watching their story being depicted on the other side of the planet?
Well, that's what was weird, is that they were so fascinated by it, but otherwise they didn't necessarily like to talk about bad news for pirates. Or, like I said, when the hostages were released or rescued in the first few days of my captivity, I kept hearing that the hostages had been killed. So they like to spin things in a good way for pirates in general. So I just would have assumed they would just ignore Captain Phillips because it ends so badly. They were just fascinated. They really were.
And so what was daily life like for you? Like, do you ate with them?
Well, separately, but sometimes in the same room. They made very bad food, boiled beans and flavorless boiled goat and that kind of thing. But they would eat from a communal platter, sort of elsewhere within sight. I didn't have to eat from the same platter as
they eat by hand?
Yeah, by hand, yeah.
Yeah. That's very common in that part of the world?
Yeah, it really is, because utensils just aren't that common. And they really like spaghetti, so they sort of wrap the spaghetti around your fingers. And I had done that as a free man. I sort of sat with the Somalis and ate that way. But as a hostage, I was in no mood to be that, that friendly.
Yeah.
They gave me a fork, and I could eat on my own.
So what kind of physical state were you in after 2.5 years of this?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. My immune system had started to fall apart. So I don't go into detail too much about this in the book, but I had a staph infection of my skin and some other kind of infection in my ear, and I was just something in my lungs. I was sick. And I was sick constantly for several months before I got out. So I knew something had really changed. And I think the pirates were aware of that too, slowly.
Do you think that probably possibly contributed to them lowering your ransom?
Possibly. But I, not that they were sympathetic, but it's possible they saw me sort of reaching my physical limit slowly.
Yeah.
Slowly.